Hi, this is the first video for installing Windows Server 2008 R2 using the virtual machine. Of course, installing the virtual machine something normal like installing any other application. So we're going to assume we already installed the virtual machine workstation version 10. And now to install the server, we have to follow these procedures. First of all, you have to go to File. Sorry, this is touch screen laptop, so File, then New Virtual Machine, then Typical it means you're gonna use just easy steps. It will not ask you for anything for this virtual machine, so let's continue with the Typical one. Next, and the installer disk image, which is the ISO that we downloaded from the internet. We should browse and see where did we install it or saved it. Where did install? I installed it on a backup external drive, and Server 2000, and it should be the Enterprise Edition. If you didn't find the ISO file, click on all files. It will show you the other IMG file because there are so many different of imaging the disk. So this is one of them, and the VMware already recognize it. Let's go to next. You can either enter the product key or use 180 days evaluation version. Then of course it's not, you have to make sure that you are correcting from data center to enterprise R2, and you can type your full name if you want, and type the password is an optional. It says here the caps lock is on. Okay, I will leave the password blank now and see how we're gonna configure that later. Then go to next. It just says here that you didn't enter the product key, so it will be evaluation version, and you'll be asked about the activation later on. Say yes. Okay, what is the name of your virtual machine? So you can call it, for example, Server 2008 R2. This is the name of the file which will be saved on your drive. And browse, see where do you like to browse it. You can save it on your drive or save it on your external drive if you want to save it on the external drive. But if you have an SSD drive, it will be much better, so you can access and get better performance. We can create a new folder to call it whatever you want, VMware, for example. This folder will have all our virtual machines installations. So we click on next. It says here what is your minimum or maximum disk space. So it depends. It's recommending 40 gigs. I'm gonna take only 20 gigs. I'm not gonna install too many applications. I'm just testing mode. And it says here split it virtual into multiple files, leave it as is. Then you will click on finish, and the installation of the server will start. Now it says that some devices will be shared, no problem. See how long the installation will take. This process will have no interruption until it finished to the completing installation, this completing installation. So I'm gonna pause the video until the completing installation, just to reduce the amount of video uploaded on the cloud. Thank you. Once the installation is finished, So now the Windows will restart. To continue, still completing the installation. Sometimes it takes a little while. It depends on your disk performance, of course, on the RAM that you already assigned to your virtual machine. Once finished, setup will continue after another restarting. So this is the second restart for installing Windows Server 2008 Release 2 Enterprise Edition. So now seems the server is ready. So we have to make sure that three things already are applicable on that server. These three things, like this. First of all, we need to turn off the firewall. Firewall should be turned off. So we click on turning Windows firewall and off. We turn it all off. Okay. Then after that, we'll go back. Something's still preparing. And we need to enable remote desktop. So that's it. من فين هنا؟ So the remote desktop now is enabled. This is a virtual machine tools for the server. And the third part that we need to activate the sharing folder, not from this part, but from the virtual machine. So we can go here and right click and click on settings. Then we go to options here up there and go to the shared folders, and here we see that we cannot enable the shell folder because there is one missing part, which is the VMware tools, which must be installed, and these are the tools that had been installing while we've been configuring, disabling the firewall and enabling the remote access. So I think now the VMware tools have been installed. So let's try again for the shared folder. Right click on the name of my server, go to settings, options after that, and for options we click on shared folder. Now it's active because of the virtual machine tools had been installed. So make it enable and map as a network drive so we can see it as a map drive. We don't have to go everywhere to the same location, and we can add any folder or drive to our virtual machine. This folder or drive will be the one that we are testing authentication, Active Directory, on this kind of stuff. So we can make it, for example, the music one. Okay, it's called the music. Go to next, make it read only. If you click on read only, you will be just read, you cannot be able to modify it. Modify it means write on it, add any files to it. So let's leave it as is now. Finish, click OK. Now we want to prepare this server to be a standard for any other projects or virtual machine that we will run. So all we have to do, we'll go to start here, okay, and write the command sysprep if it is not here. So we can search for it on the system, on the Windows System 32. Go to C, Windows System 32, and click anywhere and click on letter S, another S, sysprep, sometimes not directly activated from the command prompt, so we have to activate it from here. Yes, sysprep here, sys sysprep. It is sysprep, yeah. It asks you enter system out of the box enterprise, yeah. After that, shut down and reboot. We can make it shut down so it is totally off after you prepare the sysprep. So it will prepare now the sysprep. So sometimes when you go to the command prompt and type sysprep, it appears. If it doesn't, you go to the Windows folder, System 32, and you'll find the sysprep within the sysprep folder. Activate this command, and now your system server 32 is ready to be cloned. And when you install any other cloning system for that, it's like when you purchase a new laptop, for example, you have the Windows already installed, but you just need to enter your date and time, your name, your personal information, and it's up and running. It doesn't have to install the entire Windows files from the scratch. This is the same idea here. So we have already made ready steady version of Windows Server 2008. We can configure it as we want. We can configure it to Exchange, configure it to ISA, whatever we want. If you want to rename this name, we have three different ways. First of all, while I'm highlighting the name, I can press on F2 on the keyboard, F2 key, so I can change the name, or right click on that name and click rename as well. On the third one, right click settings, and from the options I can also rename it here. So I can call this master one to be for cloning. After it is master for cloning, I can right click on it and then go to manage and click for a clone to be a full cloning. When I click on next, it says the current state in the virtual machine, because there is something called a snapshot. We don't have any snapshot. If we have a snapshot means that sometimes you made any modifications to your current server and you want to take a snapshot of that. So it's like another version of the same operating system but with some modifications. This is called a snapshot. We didn't take any snapshot, so we're going to take the current state as is. It says a linked clone or a full clone. We prefer a full clone because if it's a linked clone, the other one should be turned on. Everything linked to that one should be turning on. So we need a full clone, like a fresh installed one. So after that, it says what do you want to call it. So at that time we can call it, for example, Server1 SRV, for example, 01, and it's the same directory. I can put it also browse, put it also on the VMware folder. Yeah, click finish, continue. It's preparing this one. So I can make as many clones as I want from this one. For example, I can call server1, server2. It's now cloning. I will make another one for server2, and I'm going to prepare another two. One is called van DC1 and van X1 for the Exchange server, which is going to be our third video, because the next one I'm going to talk about configuring the server R1 and R2 for the IP and name, and how, if we faced any problem with the administrator level, how we change or how we maintain that. So let's just finish this clone. Okay, it's done now. I'm gonna pause the video again for just time consumption, and I'm gonna make another 3 cloning with the same procedure: manage, clone, the other one with the same procedure, the current one with the full, make sure it is full clone, not a linked one. Next, call it srv